In this video, I make a small batch of fermented Tabasco sauce. You want to see more about it? Stick around. Hello everyone and welcome back. I decided earlier this year I wanted to make another batch of my fermented Tabasco sauce. If you don't know what that is, on occasion I've mentioned in past videos that I use this in some recipes. I even showed it and featured it in one of my more popular videos out there, my barbecue beans from scratch video. That's still actually quite popular. And as a result of that, I've gotten questions as to, do I have a recipe for it? Well, I did, I just never did a video on it until now. And here it is. A bit late, but it's here nonetheless. But before I could make this video and before I could make the sauce, I had to get the peppers, which means I had to grow them, which I did on my patio all summer long. Tabasco plants are awesome plants to have around your patio. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful to look at. The different shades of green, yellow, orange, and red ripe fruits on these things are just awesome as like a backdrop to your patio. They're like flowers, but they actually have a purpose and an actual use to them, which flowers, in my opinion, don't. They're also cool in that they grow basically upside down, because most peppers kind of hook over and kind of hang down. These just poke straight up the whole time, which also kind of makes them stand out. And they're the only pepper that I'm aware of that actually has juice inside or a liquid filling. Every other pepper I have, you cut them in half and they're hollow. You cut one of these in half or squeeze them, and they're filled with juice, which is, I think, kind of cool too. I love Tabasco sauce. It's awesome on all kinds of foods, including breaded chicken, crappy pizza, and in my personal favorite use, eggs. So let's get on with showing you how I make it. In order to gather enough peppers to make a small batch like this, I had to pick them over a period of time as they matured. And because it took a matter of weeks to pick these red ripe ones, I didn't want to pick any orange or yellow ones. You want to wait till they're nice bright and red. I pick them and then put them in a freezer bag and throw them in my freezer until I have enough to make a batch with. But once the weather became too cold to continue maturing some plants, because I am in the Midwest, these Tabasco peppers are really meant for hot weather year round. I had to start them indoor early in April, and I had to grow them all the way till early October, late September maybe, and then I had to pick them because it was getting too cold for the plant to stay alive. Since I only had one plant this year, I usually grow 2 to 3 plants a year, but this year I just had one, so I had to augment my haul with some cayenne peppers from a neighbor's garden. And thanks to the cayennes, now I had enough peppers to make a small batch. So I took both the Tabasco and cayenne peppers out of the freezer, opened the bags, and started processing them. Now the first step is to remove the stems. And on the cayenne peppers, since they're so large, I chopped them up into smaller pieces. The Tabascos I left as is. And I had a small little food processor device that I threw them into and pulsed them and mashed them up into smaller pieces, called the mash basically. It's similar to home brewing basically. If you're a home brewer and you're used to mashing, this is sort of the same process. You basically have a bunch of chopped up peppers all exposed and crushed up basically, thrown into a jar where they ferment. It's important to weigh them because you want to add a certain percent of salt to this recipe. So you weigh out the peppers, accounting for the weight of the jar. So you have to tear your scale with an empty jar, put the peppers in it and weigh the jar again, and figure out what the actual weight of the actual peppers are without the jar. Then you weigh out about 2 to 3% of salt. Now it's important to go by weight because using volumetric measuring devices like cups and teaspoons and tablespoons is not accurate. It's analogous to making bread. You weigh the ingredients, you don't measure the volumes of them. So once you weigh out your 2 to 3% of salt, you add it to the mash, which is now what it's called, the mash basically, and you stir this stuff in really good. And if you had fresh peppers, fresh picked off the plant and tossed in here, there's enough wild bacteria and yeast out there to ferment this all on its own generally, but since I had frozen these for a period of weeks, those wild yeast and bacteria are either killed or greatly subdued and reduced in number. So I had to augment that with some hooch from a natural sourdough yeast starter. I got a separate video on that. If you want to go check it out, I'll put a link to my sourdough bread starter recipe down below. But what you're looking at floating on top of that yeast starter is the hooch that results from letting the yeast starter sit for too long. And that's basically alcohol and souring bacteria and wild yeast sort of pulling it to the top of the yeast starter that I always pour off when I make bread anyway. So rather than dumping it into the kitchen sink or the garbage, I thought I'd put it to good use and add it to my mash. And doing this reinfuses the mash with the extra wild yeast and souring bacteria that's needed, because it's basically almost the same thing as in a sour loaf bread. And once you stir it all in, you screw the lid on loosely. You know, screw it on tight, you might have a bomb on your hand, right? Again, this is analogous to home brewing. Ideally would want an airlock on this thing, but I didn't use an airlock. I just took a screw-on lid for a ball jar and just loosely screwed it on there so the gas could escape. Now the hard part, patience. I had to let it sit for several weeks while it bubbled and fermented away. And you can actually see this happening, although it's not as spectacular as watching a glass carboy ferment some beer, right? It's not as crazy as that. It's much more subtle. But there are some visual cues. For one, it vents gas. So if you open up the jar every so often and take a whiff, you might smell a little bit of CO2 in your face. It's mild, not as strong as home brewing though. And in the side of the jar, you'll sometimes see little air pockets start forming, especially if you stir it in every day, which is what I would do. I would let it sit. I would check it out once a day. I would stir it down, screw the cap back on real loosely again, and watch it. And by the next day, there'll be more bubbles inside that you can see through the sidewall of the glass jar. You'll know when it's done, well, partially from experience, but two, you can kind of see this. If you look at the jar, the color of the mash, for my mash at least, darkens a little bit. It's not as bright colored, it's a little darker in color. The peppers or the mash sort of settle and kind of flatten down into the bottom of the jar, and a light coating of liquid that was released from this process is floating on top. And you don't see any more air bubbles or air pockets forming. And this batch took me probably about 6 weeks to get to this point. But when it's done, it's on to the next step. It's at this point where I add some white wine vinegar to it. Now you can use white vinegar too, but I have white wine vinegar. I think that's a little bit more smooth and subtle than the white vinegar. And I add just enough to thin it out a little bit and stir it in enough to churn over everything and get everything loosened up and thinned out a bit. And then I let it sit for another week. I occasionally stir it along the way too. And when that's all done, I run it through a food mill to separate the juice from the skins and seeds. Then I add more white wine vinegar. How much is really up to you. You thin it out along the way, you taste it, you thin it out, you taste it. And the goal for me was to make it not so hot where it was unbearable, but I wanted just the right level of heat for my personal preference. And since it's Tabasco sauce, it's basically pepper, salt, and vinegar. Well, the salt's already in it, the pepper's already in it. Now I'm just adding the vinegar to my liking. And when that point was reached, it was time to bottle it. The bottles I used in this video were just reused bottles. One, I think, was a soy sauce bottle that I washed and repurposed. And the other one should be pretty familiar if you are a fan of Tabasco sauce. I filled one up and had to use it to fill up the smaller bottle because my funnel wouldn't fit in the smaller bottle's opening. But when both were filled, I put on the restrictor caps, screwed on the bottle caps, and put them in the fridge until I wanted to use them. And I've used them a lot already. I love that stuff. It's awesome. There's something about a fermented pepper sauce that I can't describe that I just love. I make fresh sauces too, but nothing can compare to a well-fermented beer, homemade bread, and hot sauce. Maybe it's because I like fermented stuff. Now you know how I did it. So go forth and ferment. If you like this video, give me that thumbs up. If you have a comment or question, put it in the comment section down below. I put links in my video, like I said, down in the video description for other stuff that might be of interest. And if you're a new subscriber, make sure you pick the subscribe button here on my channel. And other than that, thanks for watching. Talk to you all later. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out other videos on my YouTube channel and don't forget to subscribe.